Hello, greetings. Welcome to our series of weekly devotionals. Well, we're moving right along this week through some verses in chapter 40 of the book of the prophet Isaiah. Today I want to talk a little bit about the hiddenness of God, those moments when God seems to be hidden from our sight, from our experience. I remember reading about Mother Teresa and how it was sort of shocking to some folks that to learn in her memoirs that she had spent many years, much of her life, much of her time as a sister, as a nun, experiencing that painful hiddenness of God, that she yearned for God, but God indeed often remained hidden to her. And folks have kind of going back to other saints of the church, St. John of the Cross, for example, who experienced that same kind of hiddenness, have coined that experience the dark night of the soul. That and indeed have kind of scholars have said that it's sort of a necessary experience to go through as we grow closer to God, that we all go through those experiences. I think that's probably true for most of us, that we've gone through times in our life when we've yearned for God's presence and God has remained hidden. Perhaps during these last several months of dealing with the pandemic and many of the other things going on in our society, perhaps it seems even more profoundly acute that God's presence has remained hidden from us. I'm mentioning these things as a preface to some of the verses in chapter 40 where the prophet writes, "A voice cries out, 'In the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill be made low. The uneven ground shall become level, and the rough places a plain. Then the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all people shall see it together, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken.'" And of course, as Christians, we kind of recognize these verses as sort of applying to John the Baptist, a voice crying in the wilderness, and of course, the glory of the Lord being revealed in the coming of the birth of Jesus Christ, which we move towards in this season of Advent. Of course, for the prophet Isaiah writing to the people of Judah several hundred years before the birth of Christ, they perhaps were reflecting on the presence of God being revealed in other ways in their history, in the history of the people of God. God had made God's self known to them in many different ways, of course, in the story of Exodus and many other instances. And so these verses simply profess and assure the people that God's hiddenness will be coming to an end. Make straight a path, make straight the plains, make room in your life, in the experience of your community in the world for God's presence. For God's presence is coming and is about to be revealed. And these indeed are words of comfort and good words for the people of Judah to hear, that God's hiddenness will be coming to an end. And so I mentioned these thoughts as we move through the season of Advent. I mentioned before, of course, that we have all, I think, experienced God's hiddenness in our life. And I would like to also hope that we've experienced God's presence being revealed to us in a myriad of ways. And so my thought for today is simply to ask, as we move through this season of Advent together, how is God's presence being revealed to you this day? Amen.